Hello, viewers of Jonathan Joe Villaria's World Emporium. I'm Jonathan Joe Villaria, and I am excited to share with you how we can expand our knowledge of the world through the English language. Our videos cover a range of topics such as literature, history, science, and more to provide you with a well-rounded learning experience. Regardless of whether you are a beginner or an experienced learner, our expertly curated videos offer captivating and enlightening content to help you enhance your language proficiency. Today, we're gonna dig into the life of the true hero and revolutionary of Vietnam during the French colonial era, Mr. Phan Bội Châu. Phan Bội Châu, who was once known as Phan Văn San, was born in 1867 in Nghệ An. Right from a young age, this dude showed off his genius brain. At the tender age of 13, he aced the local district's exam, proving he was a real smarty pants from the get-go. But but what's really cool is that his love for the country was already burning bright when he was just a kid. When he was merely 17, he penned an article supporting the resistance against the French. That's the start of his kick-ass journey for independence. Now let's talk about how Phan Bội Châu was cut from a different cloth. Yeah, he was from a Confucian scholar family, but he didn't follow the typical path of those old school scholars. You know the drill. The drill: hit the books, pass exams, serve the king, and help the country when the time is right. Or lay low, stay pure in the midst of the world's chaos. With an unyielding spirit at 19 years old, he and some of his fellow peeps formed the anti-French gang, but unfortunately they got their butts kicked. Did he throw in the tower though? Hell no. He was dead set on continuing his studies and traveling all across Vietnam, making friends with different patriots who shared the same love for the nation. Phan Bội Châu was not only known for his talent and knowledge, but also for being a powerful voice against the French colonial rule. He strongly criticized the French colonial administration for banning the teaching of Vietnamese history and instead focusing on French history, which caused a cultural dividing the country. In the year 1900, he actively engaged in patriotic activities and founded the Youth Association in 1904. The Youth Association advocated for more radical actions and sought foreign support to achieve the goal of restoring independence for their homeland. In early 1905, he organized the Dong Yu movement, sending around 200 young people to Japan to study politics, science, and military strategy. After 1904, Phan Bội Châu traveled to China and Japan in search of support for the Youth Association's struggle against the French. In Japan, he received valuable advice to use poetry and literature to inspire the patriotic spirit of the Vietnamese people. With unwavering determination, he returned to Vietnam and proposed a plan to encourage young people to study abroad, aiming to bring progress and development to the beloved nation. In 1909, he was expelled from Japan, and the Japanese government, along with the Dongyu students. He then temporarily took refuge in China for a brief period before moving to Thailand to continue his activities. In 1911, he returned to China and founded the Vietnam Restoration Society with the goal of restoring independence for Vietnam, establishing a nation called the Vietnamese National Republic. In 1913, Phan Bội Châu faced resistance from the French colonialists and was captured by Chinese warlords. He was imprisoned until his release in 1917. During this time, he continued his fight for the country by writing articles to rally against the French colonial regime in the mid 1924. He reorganized the Vietnam Restoration Society into the Vietnam National Party. On June 30, 1925, Phan Bội Châu was kidnapped by the French colonialists in Shanghai and brought back to Vietnam for trial at the court of Hanoi. Faced with strong opposition from the public across the nation, the French had to announce his pardon, but they still detained him in Hue. Despite the limitations on his freedom, he never stopped writing poetry and literature to criticize the colonial feudal authorities and instill a sense of patriotism among his compatriots. After more than 10 years of imprisonment in Hue, he passed away on October 20, 1940. Phan Bội Châu was actively involved in revolutionary activities and simultaneously produced work to spread the revolutionary spirit. He established the Vietnam Restoration Society, a significant organization in the struggle for independence. Despite facing difficulties and being arrested, he persisted in revolutionary activities, although there is no clear evidence of him supporting the communist movement. In his house, he had pictures of Lenin hanging on the walls, and he also wrote some documents about socialism, expressing his interest in progressive ideas. He even met with Nguyễn Ái Quốc, later known as Ho Chi Minh, and acknowledged his important role in the revolutionary movement. Phan Bội Châu firmly believed that violence was the only means to regain independence for Vietnam. He thought that the Vietnamese people could overthrow the French on their own and needed support from another powerful nation. That's why he chose Japan due to its successes in modernization and its victory against Russia. After the failure of the Dong Yuan movement, Phan Bội Châu shifted his attention to forming alliances with fellow sufferers like China to find a solution for Vietnam's independence. He consistently upheld the idea of Pan-Asianism, believing that only through alliances with countries like Japan and China could Vietnam achieve independence. This notion reflected his outdated and subjective understanding of the international relations at the time, when colonialism held sway and divided interests and territories between nations. Due to his advocacy for violent measures, many students who followed Phan Bội Châu to study in Japan and China chose military school rules, and many of them sacrificed their lives in violent incidents, assassinations, and other uprisings. In his later years, Phan Bội Châu had moments of reflection and regret about the consequences of his advocacy for violence. He is considered a leader who knew how to harness and empower the strength of the youth in the struggle for national liberation. He always cared for and nurtured the youth, encouraging them to love the country, foster hatred towards foreign invaders, and be determined to fight for national liberation. Phan Bội Châu played a significant role in preparing human resources for the national liberation struggle in Vietnam in the early 20th century. Moreover, Phan Bội Châu became an idol for many Vietnamese youths. They enthusiastically followed his lead and were ready to stand up and fight for national liberation. The young people supported him wholeheartedly during difficult times and continued to spread the patriotic flame that he had ignited in them. In conclusion, Phan Bội Châu was a skilled leader who harnessed the power and passion of the youth to drive forward the struggle for national liberation. He left behind a profound legacy of patriotism and revolutionary spirit. contributing to the nurturing of talented and patriotic individuals for Vietnam's quest for independence and freedom. Thank you for joining me on this episode. The questions, comments, and feedback are always welcome and appreciated. So please don't hesitate to leave them in the comment section below. And if you haven't already, please do hit the like button and subscribe to our channel for more interesting and enlightening content. By hitting the notification bell, you'll be sure to never miss any very exciting and thought-provoking episodes. Don't forget to share our channel with your friends and family who may also find our content beneficial. We are committed to providing you with high quality, well researched, and engaging content that will help you improve your English language skills and expand your knowledge. And I look forward to sharing more insightful and inspiring things with you in the near future.